Welcome to another edition of the Eye on Life podcast. I am your host, Brian Boyer, and today's theme is the show must go on. I was not expecting to have 2 consecutive weeks of a solo show, but this is what happens in life, right? Things happen in life where we don't expect it to happen, and then we have to make a decision. I had a guest lined up for this week. It didn't work out. We'll work to have that guest on again, hopefully at some point. And I was like, well, do I take a break from the show for the week, which actually would feel really good. We've done shows now for about a full year now and haven't missed 1 week, I don't think. I don't think we've missed a week. And so I was like, do I take a break? Which is fine. A lot of podcasts actually do end up taking breaks. And I may do that at some point, maybe over the summer when people are out and about doing their thing and I'm doing my thing, and we'll maybe take a break a couple of weeks here and there. But I was like, no, the show must go on. Because that's what life is all about. Life is about things not happening the way we expect it to happen, and then we make the decision from there. How do we handle it? Do we say, okay, that happened, so I'm either going to retreat and not do it, or do we go into do we feel bad about it? Do we feel like we shut down, or do we just keep going and tunnel vision moving forward? So we're tunnel vision moving forward. It's not the end of the world. I always have plenty to say. You know that. If this is self-indulgent, I apologize for that, but we do have some guests coming up over the next few weeks, which I do believe that those will take place. So thank you for joining us. It's go time, and the theme is the show must go on. We have some great shows coming up. A couple things I did want to cover today, and we'll keep this relatively short. I've actually found that the shorter that we do the podcasts, oftentimes we get the better viewership. So I want to thank everyone again for listening to the Eye on Life podcast. Like us, share us, follow us. And the solo shows have actually done well. So I figured, hey, let's get on and talk about a few things. Hopefully I can shed a little bit of insight, and I wish we could have a two-way dialogue. We have to figure out a way to maybe do that at some point, to have people call in or whatnot. I'd love to talk to the people who listen and watch the show. But anyway, a couple things. So first off, as human beings, we are works in progress, right? We are constantly, hopefully evolving, sometimes devolving, but hopefully evolving as people, and never perfect. We might be striving for perfection, but I don't know that we will ever get there. And I almost hope that we don't get there, because I think if you think you're perfect, you'll become maybe a little apathetic and maybe kind of stop trying as hard. And I think it's important that we always try it hard, whether we could be really great at what we do. We could really be really great people. We could be really happy with who we are. But to say that we're perfect is probably a bit of a stretch. But one of the things that I have found over the years, as I have sort of evolved as a person, is not necessarily trying to change people's opinions on things. And we've talked about this on the show a little bit. And I'm not just talking about politics. I'm talking about anything. It could be something as deep as politics, or as deep as some of the issues that we hear about now in society, or it could be something you could be arguing about your favorite, restaurant or fast food, French fries or whatnot. And one of the things that I've learned is that and it's hard sometimes to distinguish between a discussion and an argument, but I think it's very important. This comes down to communication, because I think that once people stop trying to change other people's viewpoints, you can actually learn a lot about what somebody else might have to say. And I've had a lot of experiences like that lately. And, those who know me know that I can be stubborn, and those who know me know that I can be opinionated. But one of the things that I've really tried to do over the past, several years now, is to really listen to what people have to say. And even though I might disagree with what they have to say, and even though I might be giving them a different viewpoint of how they might feel, it's not necessarily an argument. Sometimes people take it as an argument. And I always try to give them that caveat. Like, listen, I'm just telling you my opinion on this. I'm not saying I'm even right. I'm simply saying that that's my opinion on it. And I'm not trying to change your opinion. I'm done trying to change people's opinion. It's not my job to change people's opinions about anything. You can think what you want to think. That's fine. If it doesn't impact me, if it doesn't harm me, that's really all that matters. But ultimately, you can have a good discussion with somebody. We've had some great discussions on this show. We don't always see eye to eye. We've talked about some trivial things. We've had the great Nickelback debate. We've talked a little bit more about some of the more important societal issues, gun control and racial inequity and whatnot. And I just find that, I find it much more fulfilling to be around people who are willing to have a discussion about something versus trying to argue it and try to prove a point. That's all I'm saying. So if you have a friend or an acquaintance like that, and it's somebody you do want to have in your life, maybe think about that pivot a little bit. Try to have the discussion. And there are some people that will have viewpoints that are different than yours that you just can't I can't be friendly with this person. I can't associate with this person. I just can't. It's too extreme of a viewpoint, and I can't deal with that. And because they feel that way, it means that their values are completely misaligned with mine. So therefore, maybe it's someone that I can't associate with. But in the end, discussion, arguments, they're two different things. Have the discussion, try to learn something. Definitely feel free to express your viewpoints, but don't necessarily try to change someone's mind, because it's probably not going to happen. That's one thing. The other piece, and I have been having this conversation a lot with friends over the past, probably, past year or two, is, as we get older, and I say we, the audience here, right? Depending upon who's listening, and some of us, still have our parents, and some of us have lost our parents. And it's one of the things. I mean, I'm fortunate that my parents are still alive. My parents both had COVID, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of different things when my parents had COVID. They're in their 70s, they had COVID, they recovered beautifully, and they're doing well right now. But one of the things that I have really found is it's very, very challenging and very, very hard to see your parents age. You grow up, and I don't think it matters even what kind of relationship you have with your parents. I'm an only child, so I have a very close relationship with my parents, and I have a small family, so they're my main family, and it's but I've had this conversation with a lot of people where we see our parents. They have the conversations that we have with our parents now are about ailments that they have, or that they're not feeling well, that they're not as mobile as they used to be, and when you grow up and you see your parents, however you see them, but I always saw my parents as active and vibrant, and they still, for the most part, are. But watching them age is certainly difficult, and I know I've had that discussion with a lot of people, and I think we're going to get somebody on the show to talk about that, because there's a psychological piece here too. I think that it's very hard for some people, most of us probably, to see our parents get older and to see them age, and then eventually we know what happens next. So I guess, and then I guess that makes you feel almost makes you reflect a little bit on your own mortality as well. I'm getting to the point now with my kids. I have two boys, 14 and 11, and I'm starting to think back now to remembering, back when I was, 14 and 11, and that makes me feel very, very old when I start to feel that way. And then I think to myself, I'm like, someday my kids will be looking at me saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe my father's aging like that." Although I guess aging beats the alternative for sure, but it's an interesting topic. I'd love to have somebody to come on and talk about our parents aging and caregiving and whatnot. I think that'd be an interesting subject matter. It's been coming up a lot more lately. Every friend that I speak to now, their parents have some kind of ailment or some kind of illness or that they've dealt with, and it's very hard to see. It's emotional. Again, particularly when you have a strong relationship with your parents, but I think even if you don't, and sometimes I think it's even harder if you don't have a strong relationship with your parents, to see that happen and to see them kind of deteriorate a little bit. So I found that very interesting, and I find that it's interesting that topic has come up quite a bit, something that I have observed. I hope everyone stays healthy and families are well, and now that COVID is sort of starting to, we're moving hopefully a little bit out of COVID, that everyone is healthy and remains healthy for the long term. On a little bit of a lighter note, we have a show coming up. We are going to talk about youth sports, and I am I've been a long time coach of youth sports, particularly baseball. I coach my kids as they've grown up. About a year or two ago, I say in quotes, retired. Was just done. My interaction wasn't always favorable with my kids, and I wanted to be a parent versus a coach. I wanted to just sit on the sideline and be supportive and not be coaching them, because they don't want to hear what I have to say anyway. And I think there are a lot of interesting dynamics when it comes to youth sports. My kids are big baseball players, and they play a lot of baseball. They play all year round. They play other sports as well, but that's their main one. And we're going to have a couple of coaches and organizers and even a parent on to talk about youth sports and put things in perspective a little bit. Even just this year, I've already seen people yelling at umpires on the baseball field, and parents, bragging about their kids' statistics. And I find it all very, very interesting. I've seen it from both sides. And I'm not sitting here saying that I've been innocent along the way. I certainly have had my moments of intensity over the years, but I have a much better, now that I've stopped coaching, I have a much better relationship with my kids on and off the field, and it's just much better. But we are going to have someone come on and talk about youth sports a little bit. I just almost lost my microphone there. Sorry. We'll talk about youth sports a little bit, and how little Tina or Jimmy, or whether you have boys or girls, how you can maybe support them, and maybe put things in perspective a little bit. I can tell you baseball is the most infuriating sport because there's so much failure in baseball. You're talking about a sport where, if you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times, you're an all-star. And it's tough, I think, for kids to look at that and say, oh, that's success, when it really is. And parents too, looking at that and saying, oh my God, my kid's striking out 3 or 4 times in one game. And but it is baseball. The pros, you strike out 3 or 4 times in games often. I mean, it just happens. So there's perspective that we will try to provide in that show. I have some questions I want to ask some of these people who are very, very deeply involved in youth sports and some of the experiences that they've had. And I certainly had some amazing experiences and some also very bad experiences. So we will talk about that. The other trend that I'm noticing, we talk about trends on the show a lot, is I am noticing that when I was growing up, I remember certain commercials that I just loved. They just seemed to be creative. They seemed to be funny. They seemed to be engaging. And again, I was younger, so maybe I didn't look at it as much, but there were certain, even, to this day, for example, some of the McDonald's commercials, the fast food commercials have been funny, I think, over the years. I think it was Wendy's. Remember, where's the beef? I thought that was funny with the old woman saying, where's the beef? I always enjoyed that one. There are a lot of good commercials that you kind of remember. Public service announcements. Remember, this is your brain. And then, they put the egg in the frying pan. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? Those kind of commercials. And I always thought they're informative. And that one wasn't actually funny, but they were eye-opening. They were creative. Some of them were funny. Now, commercials, and I know a lot of people watch Netflix, and I do too a little bit, but I still watch, I watch a lot of sports on TV. My God, commercials are the most annoying things these days. They anger me. We've talked about this on the show a little bit. I want to get some marketing people on the show to talk about commercials, because half the time, more than half the time, probably 90% of the time, I see a commercial in a brand and I'm like, I'm not buying that simply because of the commercial. Now, maybe the goal is to get me to talk about it. Maybe they're succeeding here, but there are certain commercials that are driving me absolutely crazy. And I hate these commercials that are using songs now, like real songs, either it's different words sung to the tune of a song, or it's the actual song. I don't know what ad it is, but there's this idiot now who's on he's on a riding lawnmower and he's singing the song Take On Me. By Aha, the 80s song. People know that song. And it's off tune. It's supposed to be off tune, obviously. He's on a tractor. I think he's listening to music. I don't even know what the ad is for. And I'm glad I don't, because I don't want to promote the brand. It's so annoying. I turn it off every time I see it. Here I am talking about it, which is probably the marketers are saying, well, he's talking about it. But I hate the commercial. Don't buy the brand. Whatever it is, don't buy it. eHarmony, those are annoying. I see those commercials all the time. You're going to meet the love of your life on eHarmony. Maybe you will. I hope you do, if you can. But commercials are annoying. And then those K commercials, those K jeweler commercials. And K jewelers, if you've ever shopped there, it's like the lowest quality of jewelry. No offense to anybody who might be buying that, but if you're buying something for a significant other, splurge a little bit. You can get better jewelry that's not $50. And those K jewelers, they have like I think that song Time After Time, by the Cyndi Lauper song. It's been done a few times, but it's just really, really annoying. And I'm not trying to sound like a curmudgeon, but I hate commercials these days. I hate the Kit Kat commercials are really annoying. The Kit Kat bar, the guy singing about the Kit Kat bar, those are annoying. I can't stand it. I love Kit Kats, but I'm not eating Kit Kats anymore because I can't stand those commercials. And now whenever I will say that when I can't think of one offhand right now, but whenever I do see a good commercial, I actually appreciate it more now because there's so many bad ones. It's so few and far between that I see a good one that's effective. But I'm so angry with commercials right now. I'm tired of them. The voiceovers are usually really annoying. They pick somebody that's the most annoying, grating voice. So commercials, we're done with that. I'd rather just mute it and go get something to eat and come back and watch whatever show I'm watching, whatever sporting event I'm watching. Some of the beer commercials are still funny. Those are usually the best ones. The car commercials are the most pretentious ones I've ever seen. Car commercials are the worst. And I have talked about that before. I can't stand car commercials, especially around the holidays. I don't know anybody that has bought their significant other an automobile for the holidays. I don't. Maybe you do. Maybe you have. I'd like to hear if you have. I'd love to talk to you. I'm not shaming if you have. I just don't know people who have, and hear these commercials that are making it like common that that's happening. Anyway, enough of that rant. So that's the show this week. So we have some good shows coming up. As I said, this week we have a Washington D.C. Institution. Actually, that's next week's show. We're recording it this week. It's been a restaurant that's been around for 88 years. It's a diverse restaurant. It's based in Georgetown. If you've ever been to Georgetown, we're going to tease it on social media this week. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to have the owner on, talk about the restaurant industry as it stands today. You know, the restaurants have come through this. Some have not made it through the COVID, with the COVID, and some have. This one has 88 years. That's resilient, right? 88 years in the restaurant business doesn't make me feel so proud of myself for having a solo podcast here simply because somebody canceled on me at the last minute. So I'm really excited about that show. The only other thing I will just add before we go is that life to me is about balance. And I'm finding that balance is really the key to life. Whether it's, trying not to get too incredibly happy about things or too incredibly down about things. There are a lot of things in life. I'm finding balance has really been helping me personally, trying to stay fairly level. It's not always easy and it's not always realistic. Feel free to go crazy, get angry, get really excited, but also remember to try to come back to the middle, at least at some point. You can't sustain it. You can't sustain the extreme of anything in life, right? It's like being too hot or too cold. Eventually you'll get sick from one of the two. And so therefore life is kind of the same way. Have the drinks, but maybe, don't go crazy on it every single day, or eat that food that you want to eat that's not great for you, but don't have it for every meal. Enjoy the people around you and be around the people and engage with them. But also when you need a break, take a break. It's about balance. I found that everything comes down to balance. And I find that when you reach for the extreme on something and you try to sustain that, for me, I will not speak for anyone else, but mentally I find that it's just very, very challenging to sustain that. And so I really believe that life is about balance. Exercise. You don't need to exercise every day. You could, the injuries take place. So I would leave you with, again, I'm not a therapist. I do not pretend to be a therapist. I do not pretend to be a life coach. I simply come on the show, and some of the things that I observe in life, which is why we call this the Eye on Life podcast. The I being myself, the I being all of our listeners and our guests. We all keep an eye, the letter I, on life. It's about how we handle things in life and about the balance of what we do on a daily basis. So that is my free advice for all of our listeners. We are going to get ready for our upcoming guests. We're really excited about having the restaurant on. Next week, Youth Sports coming up. We are going to have a show about spirits. Not ghosts, but spirits, like imbibing at happy hour spirits. And if anybody has show ideas and you want to run them by me, I'd love to have you on the show. I don't think there's anything that we have ever turned down. And it can be edgy. It can be anything about life that is, edgy or exciting, that you feel is exciting or fascinating. We'd love to have you on. So we're going to do that. We're going to have some really good shows coming up. Our sponsor is Must NY. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. MustNY.com for your masks as we continue to wear those in public for now, although I think that is actually being relaxed fairly soon as well. I'm tired of breathing my own breath in. I feel like it's like carbon monoxide, but it's good for the breath mint and gum industry, because I don't want to smell bad breath. So I'm constantly brushing, constantly having breath mint. So that's not a bad thing, I guess. Anyway, that's the show for this week. Another solo show. I hope it was tolerable for you. I hope we can engage in these conversations going forward. In the meantime, keep an eye out for our upcoming shows. And as always, in the meantime, keep an eye on life. Until next time.